Hey, there's a question that I've seen over and over again throughout the years. Why did I start making videos about Neville and the law of consciousness? And I'm sure it's a question you've also asked yourself at some point, and it's this. People tell me, Raul, I've already imagined the end, so now what do I do? What should I expect now? Should I act? Should I write to them? Should I change jobs? Should I quit? Should I send my resume? Or should I just sit and wait? And to be honest, I think this is one of the most important questions that anyone who studies Neville has to answer. And do you know why? Because depending on how you answer it, you can live completely at peace and confident. Or you can spend months trying to help and direct the universe or God to give it to you. And I'm telling you this because this is something that happened to me, you know? And this happened to me before I learned about and studied the law of consciousness. Because for a long time I wanted things, you know? And I wanted to see them. I wanted businesses. I wanted situations. And I would get excited and enter these states without knowing that I had done it because I didn't know what a state was. And what happened next? My mind started making plans. Yeah, okay, how do I do it? Would it be a good idea to do this? And what do you think if we open a sushi place? That sushi place is doing really well. I'm going to open one, or no, better yet, let's open a car wash, you know? Things like that. And was it my mind directing my actions? So, without realizing it, I had already completely left the emotional state I had entered, and it was just a state. That's all, you know? Think about this. That question we ask ourselves, what do I do to make it happen, can only be asked by someone who still feels they don't have what they want, right? Do you get what I mean? And when I understood this from Neville, that's what made the puzzle come together, you know? Because Neville tells us something that at first seems completely absurd. Because he said that between the assumption of the wish fulfilled and its manifestation, that is, its expression in this three-dimensional world. Well, he said there's nothing to do, there's nothing you have to do, and that's where most people's eyes light up, you know? They say, look, I don't have to do anything. Yes. When we read that for the first time, we think like nothing, I don't do anything, but no, that's not what Neville is telling you, you know? What Neville is telling you goes much further, it's much deeper, because what he's saying is that your job is not to create the manifestation. Your job is only to become internally the person who already lives that reality, nothing more, you know? The inner man is the one who transforms internally, and therefore the outer man follows him. Think about this. Imagine that you already have that relationship, not that you're going to have it, but that you already have it right now. Tell me, would you spend the whole blessed day asking yourself, how do I get it? No, because it's already part of your life and daily routine. Would you be obsessed all day watching videos and listening to audio recordings about how to manifest a specific person? Or if it's about a business or money, you're not going to be doing that all day. Because from that identity, love and money, or whatever you want, stopped being a problem for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going now? Another example. Imagine that you are already completely healthy. Would you keep asking yourself every day if you are already healing? You wouldn't either, right? Because you're no longer that version. That's the thing. That's where the secret is. Normally, we learn that actions change first and then our identity changes. But Neville said exactly the opposite. First, identity changes, and then actions change naturally on their own, and that changes absolutely everything. The whole perspective changes. Now, there's an expression that we hear a lot these days, we see it every day, and it's this thing called inspired action. Yes, and although I completely understand what it means, I think most people get confused about this part. You know, because then they start to overanalyze everything and as a result get analysis paralysis. Is this action coming from my ego? Is the universe talking to me? Is it inspired action? And what happens is that they turn manifestation into just another project. You know, and now they not only have to imagine, but they also have to monitor and interpret every thought that comes up. And the truth is that's really exhausting. You end up giving up on everything, throwing in the towel and deciding it's not for you anymore. Now, I like to see it differently, and I think it will make sense to you because you don't see them as inspired actions, but now you see them as natural actions. Because when you change your identity, you start acting differently, and you do it without even realizing it. Today, for example, I went out for a run, and out of nowhere, a person came to my mind, and I thought of sending them a message to say hello. And they replied super quickly. Hey, I was thinking about you. Literally, they said, Sir, I was thinking about you, they told me. Will anything good come from that? I don't know. It's going to work out however it has to work out. So one day you call someone, another day you accept an invitation, another day you decide to go out, another day you send an email, and while you're doing it, you don't feel like you're manifesting. You're simply living, you know? And days later, weeks later, I don't know how long, don't ask me, but you look back and you realize, look, now I understand. That day was when it all started. Yes, that's what Neville called the bridge of incidents. Yes, imagine that you want to move into an apartment. A new apartment. You close your eyes, you see yourself living there, you open the door, you feel the keys in your hands, you walk through the living room, the kitchen is white, it's airy and spacious. And you go and lie down in your room, and for several days, you return to that state. It's a state of peace, of tranquility. What starts to happen? Something really curious happens because the desperation disappears. You no longer check Facebook pages 50 times a day looking for apartments. You don't think, what if it never shows up? You don't think like that because psychologically, you're already there. You've already experienced being there. And it's precisely when you stop chasing that those opportunities start to appear. Someone talks to you, you see an ad you hadn't seen before, you meet someone, an apartment with the exact features you want becomes available. And it's going to appear as if it were a coincidence. But what happens? Neville would scold you and say, that's not how it is. I say scold because I've dreamed it before, and in one of those dreams, he scolded me. I didn't see him the way we know him from the photos as a young man. He was older, and I knew it was Neville. But anyway, the point is that Neville, that's what he would tell you. He would say that's the bridge of incidents unfolding. Now, there's a phrase that makes a lot of sense to me, which says that your actions are not the cause of your manifestation, but your actions are part of the manifestation. So, you see the difference in that because we believe that we act in order to achieve, but the order is completely different. First you are, and then you act as a consequence of who you are now. If that makes sense, it's like a mirror. Imagine combing your hair in front of the mirror. You're not going to move your hair or comb your hair in the mirror. You know perfectly well that the reflection isn't the cause of your hairstyle. The cause is you. You're going to grab the brush and comb your hair. I don't comb my hair, but it's just an example. The same thing happens with reality. But we want to adjust the reflection by moving people, circumstances, conversations, and timing. And here we learn that we shouldn't. First, you move yourself, you move inside, you change your state. And when you do that, the reflection has no choice but to reorganize itself. Alright? And also, another important thing is that I think this also takes a weight off your shoulders. You know? Because there are people who live in fear, afraid of what they did or what they didn't do. As if one decision could destroy your entire manifestation and all the work you've done. But the truth is that if you've really assumed that state, you're not going to go through life afraid of making mistakes. You simply live your life. You know? You live your life normally with confidence. And from that state, decisions come naturally. Okay? So, the next time you catch yourself asking, hey, what do I do now? Well then, realize that that very question is not about looking for a new action, but about going back to the only place where you really have the power. Where is that place? In the now, in your imagination, in your state of consciousness, in your new identity, in the state you're inhabiting. Alright? And remember that the bridge of incidents is not something you build. you don't build it yourself. It's a bridge that appears when you stop identifying with the person who still believes they're missing something. Alright? And when that happens, you let go of doubts, you let go of pointless effort, and you naturally start to be the person you decided to be, and that's it. Congratulations. Alright? Because in the end, consciousness, as Neville told us, is the only reality. And when that consciousness changes, everything else sooner or later is reflected in the outer world. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope it makes sense to you. And before I go, I want to remind you that this August 1st and 2nd, we'll be holding our second metaphysical retreat. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. We're going to cover mental reprogramming, Kabbalah, and applied metaphysics in daily life, biohacking, and more. So if you're interested, I'll leave the WhatsApp link in the description box for more information. And if you have any questions about this bridge of incidents, or if you want to tell me about a bridge you've experienced that led you to manifest your goal, let me know in the comments. The truth is, I really enjoy reading these kinds of testimonies. Alright, so I want to thank you for being here. I'm sending you a big, strong hug. And with that, from Domina tu Mente con Raul, I'll see you in the next video program. See you soon and goodbye.